So if you're in a job that you hate right now, maybe it's a 9-to-5 corporate job, or maybe it's not your job, but it's just kind of like life in general. You feel a little bit stuck, whether that be career, relationships, friendships, or just general life situation, and you want to do something different, you want a better life, per se, then what I want to do in this video is just share the biggest shift that allowed me to break free through that barrier, because I was the exact same. Did the whole school, university thing, got a corporate job, realized I hated it, and was just desperate to do something different. So that's what I did. And I spent actually years trying to make that a reality, where I could like build a business, work for myself, earn money online. But unfortunately for me, for whatever reason, well, I actually know some of the reasons, but I didn't achieve success very, very quickly. It actually took me years. It was very painful, and I made a lot of mistakes, and I was very frustrated because I would look around on Instagram and YouTube and be like, oh my gosh, all these people are making all this money, and these people started after me. I've been doing this for years and I'm still not seeing any form of success, and it's annoying. Why is that happening? Well, after looking back, there's basically like one thing that held me back from succeeding. And by the way, I'm not talking about success as like, I'm a billionaire, or I got $10 million in the bank, or anything like that. Like, success to me was working for myself, not waking up to an alarm clock, being able to like work and travel at the same time, not having a boss. So it wasn't necessarily become rich, or at least like filthy rich, but it was just really freedom based. And like I said, I tried that for years, and I just couldn't, it just wouldn't work for me. And the biggest reason why, and it was only when I overcame this, was I able to like achieve those goals. And it was because I was too scared of the opinions of others. Now, there's some people who are just like naturally really confident and extroverted, and they're okay putting themselves in like uncomfortable situations in front of other people. Not that type of person. Like, struggled with confidence my entire life. I won't go into this video, but a lot of childhood stuff, bullied, blah, 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 like all that stuff, right? The childhood trauma, as they say, made me a really insecure and unconfident person. And this really made me realize this about myself when I started in business, because unfortunately, for most businesses, you need to put yourself in uncomfortable situations in front of people that, to be honest, some people might not even look at as uncomfortable, but for me, a really insecure, unconfident person, found it really difficult to do. And that, like I said, that held me back for so long. So let me give you some examples. So, for example, when I first started, I was in like this online community of people like building the same type of business, and I was struggling, losing money, and I saw these people inside the community, they were, succeeding, and they were posting about all the wins and how much money they were making, and I was like, damn, like, how are they doing it? And I wanted to message them and be like, hey man, like, can you give me any pointers or give me any help? But I was too scared. I was scared that I would annoy them. I was scared that they would just get pissed off at me, or, I was too scared to even just send them a message. Even if it was like a nice message of like, hey man, congrats on all the success, any pointers for someone who's like struggling. And I was too scared to send that message. And then I remember like a few years later, or a year later, I can't remember exactly, I was speaking to one of my friends who had seen success. And I was chatting to him like, how did you do it? What were you doing? And he was like, oh yeah, I just messaged one of the, this guy in the community who was getting these wins. I just messaged him asking, and he told me what to do. And I just like, believe it or not, like a lot of people who you see online, like they will happily help you out if you just message them, right? But for me, for whatever reason, back at that time, I was too scared, because I was scared of that one person maybe not responding to my DM. And look, what's the worst case? They don't respond. Like, no one's going to message back and be like, don't message me, blah, blah, blah. Like, they're either not going to respond at all, which is fine, or they're going to respond and help you out. But even just sending like a simple message of asking for help was too scary for me at that time, which is just ridiculous now looking back, but that massively held me back. I could have succeeded faster if I'd have just reached out to those people and asked for help. Another example is posting content, right? So one of the best ways to grow an online business is to post content on social media, drive traffic, and make sales. But in the beginning, way too scared. Couldn't even comprehend me posting a video on social media and potentially like someone from my high school who I don't even speak to anymore, but God forbid they see it, right? That was like my biggest fear, was me posting a video and like people from school seeing it and being like, who do you think you are trying to be an entrepreneur, blah, 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 right? So for the longest time, didn't post any content on social media, struggled to make money, right? Because that was the easiest and most profitable way to make money. Now, here's the thing about that though. The first example is really, like I said, the worst case scenario, someone just doesn't message you back and it's fine. The worst case scenario of the second one, posting content, does sometimes happen, which for me at the time was like people from school finding out and laughing at me. And this did happen, okay? So I remember I had a Facebook business page and I posted a video probably similar to this. Like I remember it was like a selfie in my mom and dad's bedroom, a selfie like video. Oh no, not in my bedroom in my mom and dad's house. And eventually, like, I was with my friends one time and one of my friends found the business page on his phone and he started playing the video in front of everyone. And I was mortified. I was so embarrassed because no one knew I was posting like video content. And I was talking about personal development or business or whatever it is. And they were just laughing at me and that one specific friend, and I was pissed off at him for a long time. And it was horrible, right? And I remember another time as well, a few years down the line, started again to post content. And to be fair, it wasn't the most content I'm most proud of. It was about money and making money. And I remember a lot of people messaged me being like, oh, you're scamming people. And I remember my mum messaged me once being like, Sam, everyone, like, it was like, Sam, are you scamming people? Or Sam, people are telling me that you're scamming people. And basically people had gone to my mum being like, hey, Sam's posting this stuff on Facebook, like, is it a scam? Because it was like money based. And that was horrible. So maybe this isn't the most motivational video right now because I'm telling you like these things do happen, like people will laugh at you and people will make fun of you, but it doesn't last. Like people forget about it, right? Like what we got to realize, and what you have to realize if you're struggling with the confidence side of things like I was, is that we are so insignificant to other people. As humans, as individuals, we overestimate our importance in other people's lives. And the reality is, even family members, like they give a shit about you, but they don't give a shit about you. Like they are so caught up in their day-to-day lives, in their own problems, that they never give what you're doing that much thought at all, unless it like directly affects them, which, me posting content on social media doesn't directly affect them. Like I could make a video on Instagram today and I could post it and maybe people laugh, right? But they forget about it within an hour. Like what we do, they've got so much shit going on in their heads that, what we decide to do with our lives doesn't matter whatsoever. And it was only when I realized that, when I actually posted that content and got laughed at, and at that moment in time, it was like the worst thing in the world. But then when I realized like 2 days went by and everyone had forgotten about it, right? Like no one cares. Like, okay, even if, again, people laugh or comment at the time, the next day, within 24 hours, they forget about it. And guess what? When you continue to post and comment and that becomes the norm, when you continue to post content and that becomes the norm, then people don't stop commenting on it anyway, because that's just part of your identity. So there's like a harsh part in the beginning, but once you break through and get through that and realize that people don't actually care that much, and we are very insignificant compared in the lives of others, then none of it's actually that bad at all. And like I said, it was only when I realized that and kind of broke through that confidence barrier that I was able actually properly to earn, consistent, good money online, being able to go and travel, blah, blah, blah. Like right now I live in Dubai. The last few years I've lived in Cape Town, Barcelona, Marbella. I lived in Medellin in Colombia in South America. Other places I can't remember. I've traveled, earning money, worked for myself full time since 2019. And it's been a blast. And for the guy who started in 2016, writing his goals down in his friggin' journal that I got, even though I've got a lot of goals that I want to achieve and I haven't achieved, pretty much the life I live now was what I initially wanted. That freedom of being able to like do what I want when I want and like work on stuff I enjoyed. Now again, as you get into business, you'll have bigger goals. And right now I don't feel like I've achieved anything whatsoever, but I have basically achieved everything that I did set out in the beginning. And literally the biggest thing was breaking through and not caring about the opinions of others. Now, am I perfect? No, I still have those confidence blocks. I probably could be doing more. I probably do have that fear of judgment still within me, so I'm not perfect. But I broke through the initial barrier that allowed me to kind of build the business that I wanted. So for example, like I mentioned in the beginning, I used to be scared to reach out to people to ask for help. So in 2018, when I was really struggling and I was lost and I didn't know what to do, I finally bit the bullet and I reached out to someone asking them for help. And guess what? Okay, they didn't give me basically what happened was they offered me a job and I started working for them. And guess what? I learned sales. And being able to sell high ticket products online allowed me to build my future businesses. Without that skill, would never be able to build those businesses. Without that confidence of being able to sell over the phone, would never been able to build the businesses that I have. And I learned that from that guy when I worked for him, when he offered me a job. And the only reason I got the job is because I randomly messaged him on Instagram being like, hey man, can you help me out? A few years before that, I would never have messaged him because I would have been scared of getting rejected or not even fear of anything, right? Like it doesn't even matter, but at the time it was a big deal. Getting that job and sending that DM, I'm gonna sound dramatic here, but it completely changed the trajectory of my life. Because at that point, I had to go back and work like a shitty job. I was super unhappy. I remember I was just living pretty much by myself. I was living in a hostel at the time in Australia, and I didn't have my friends around me, and I was just like, what the fuck am I doing? And then I sent that message, got a job with him, and that sent me on a completely different trajectory. So that's one thing. Number two, also sending DMs. Like in the beginning, when I started my agency, I was scared of sending a DM to clients, like potential clients to try and sign them. Scared. And it's like, I look back now and it's like, scared of what? Like, it doesn't matter. Like, what's the worst that can happen? They don't reply. Or they say, stop messaging me. Either way, it doesn't matter. But again, a few years earlier, I would never have done that. But after I gained a bit more confidence, broke through that barrier, I started sending messages to my dream clients. And what happened was basically, I joined this coaching program. And basically inside, I saw all these people making all of this money. And I see that they were doing all this cold outreach and DMs to like big companies. And I was like, shit, I didn't realize like it was that easy. So even though I was scared, I started sending messages to like these like dream clients. And guess what happened? Within the first month, I signed this really big influencer YouTuber in my niche, and I signed him as a client, and it was like one of the best days ever because before that I was working with these crappy clients that I would get on like freelancer websites because it meant that I didn't have to do any outreach. I could just like apply to job posts. So I was working with really crappy clients at the time, and this was my first client that I'd signed from outreach where I'd been like, hey, I can help you, and they respond back and you get on a sales call and you close them. Right? It was like one of the best feelings ever. But guess what? Turns out I did a good job for him, and within 2 months, he referred me to his business partner, and then they also had another business together that he also got me to work on. So sending that one DM got me 3 clients, right? 3 big companies that I could work with, and I still work with them clients to this day. And sending that cold DM, and I don't want to get over hypey and start talking about money and stuff like that, but that joint business that they had together that I still work on that client's account. Is it last month or the month before, they paid me over $30,000 for like 1.5, 2 months work. But it came in one payment. It was like 30 grand. All from sending that one friggin' DM a few years ago, where, years before that, I was too scared to send. So again, everything changed when I broke through that barriers. Even like starting posting content on Twitter, like, again, I still have fear around posting content. And I still get a little bit of fear from like, people will laugh or whatever it is. Like, I'm still not fully, I would say, secure, but I still kind of like do it anyway. Anyway, a few years ago, started posting on Twitter. And after posting on Twitter, I was able to sign clients. A ton of people referred me. Like my whole business changed when I started posting content. And I'm not a content creator or an influencer, obviously, because I've got like 2 followers. But posting content, again, just unlocked another level of business growth for me, which, you know, I could have had that so much earlier, but I was too freaking scared. But like I said, it was, once I broke through and started doing that, like everything changed. So I will say this, like I've never, even though, like some people might post content and they've got supportive friends or whatever it is, or like, you know, people do go through business and they don't have that many bad experiences. I did have a few bad experiences, like I said, when I posted content, people laughing, you know, getting called a scam by family members. But even though that stuff happened, I've never regretted feeling the fear of like judgment of others and doing it anyway. Because that's the key. It's not about being this fucking super confident, extroverted person where nothing scares you and you can just post content or, you know, send DMs or cold call or whatever it is and be this like robot that doesn't feel any emotions. Maybe some people have that and, you know, I'm pretty jealous of that because that makes a lot of the stuff easier. But it's the key is to be able to feel the fear and do it anyway. That's the type of person you want to become. Because what's the saying? I mean, maybe this is a bit dramatic, but the saying is about courage is like, courage isn't about not feeling fear. It's about, you know, doing the act in spite of the fear. And it's the same with building the business. You can feel scared. It's okay to feel scared to put yourself out there. It's okay to feel like you're scared of judgment of others. But it's being able to be like, fuck it, I'm going to do it anyway. And I've never regretted that, even with the bad reaction and all that sort of stuff. Maybe in that moment, within minutes of doing it, I felt bad when I got the messages. But over a very short to medium time horizon, I've never regretted, you know, feeling the fear of judgment and doing it anyway, okay? Because all of that stuff led me to kind of like the life I live now. And it took me a lot longer than it should have. It took me a lot longer than other people that you see online, you know? I don't have like a 0 to 7 figures in 12-month success story that, you know, some people see. I'm 30. You know, I started my business like 7-8 years ago. You know, there's some people who start the business when they're 20 and by 22 they're making like $1 million a year. I'm not that person. Like I had a lot of like shit in here, really, that kind of like held me back that I had to break free from. And the first time is always the hardest. Like it's always doing the video for the first time and like going through that feeling of like anxiety and fear. But once, just like a muscle in the gym, right? Like you train it, it becomes more durable and it becomes stronger. So like the more you do stuff that pushes yourself outside your comfort zone, the stronger the person you become and the more durable you are. And your ability to take action in spite of feeling fearful of what could happen becomes stronger. And it means you can do more stuff. So look, don't know if this was helpful, but if you see this video and you were struggling with maybe like the confident blocks that I was, then see this as your sign to say, fuck it. I'm gonna feel the fear and do it anyway. Because at the end of the day, time is precious. I wasted years with literally just my mind holding me back. It wasn't the business model, it wasn't the market, it wasn't my customers. It was literally just the shit that I had in my head stopped me from doing what I needed to do. And looking back now, I realize it's bullshit. And I'm annoyed at myself for wasting so many years, so I don't want you to do the same. So hopefully this was helpful. You know, don't let your life be determined by the opinions of others, because they don't actually give a shit about you. So you shouldn't give a shit about their opinions either.